this is Shel from Paper Rock TO Studio, and today I'm sharing with you my art journal page for the Pick a Stick Challenge for May. This is a group that I started with a couple friends, and we have a 10-step challenge every month. It's a Facebook group. I will leave the link below so that you can come over and join if you want to. So there's 10 steps. They're randomly drawn with sticks, and so you get what you get. You do the 10 steps in order. You can add other stuff if you want to, just so long as you do the 10 steps and you do them in order. The first step was to add something metallic. I decided to just go with metallic paint. That's probably the easiest thing since we're starting out our journal page, just a blank page, might as well put some paint on it. So I'm using the PBO iridescent rich gold and the PBO iridescent copper, just mixed together with a makeup sponge, using a homemade stencil that I just made out of a piece of packaging, and I just cut with scissors, just for some interesting marks that you can make with the stencil. Easy stencil to make. Next step was to add hearts. So I got out a couple scraps in pinky purple tones. I knew that I was going to be using my favorite color at some point in the steps, and so I decided to start out by putting a little bit of purple. I already knew I was going to put purple, so pink and purple, staying with the warm tone colors because I'd already started out with the copper and gold. So I just took those scraps and cut them out in different size hearts, and then I'm using Liquitex gel matte medium to attach them to the page. I have some of an idea of what I'm going to do, but not exactly. I figure the unifying thing that's going to come up is step 4, and so I'm kind of working around step 4. It's going to unify the page. So when step 4 comes, you'll find out what it is. Step 3 is to use a tag, and I started out with just a plain vanilla tag, and then I thought, no, I want it to have a color of some sort, and so I looked through the basket that I have of some stuff I haven't used yet, some tags that have experiments or backgrounds on them. I think this one is alcohol ink, but it was just in my basket. It seemed to be the right color tone, so I went ahead and attached that to my page. And then step 4 that I was talking about is use a cooking recipe. And as I was looking through the steps, trying to get an idea of where I should go with this page, the cooking recipe and the cat together seem to be what would unify the page and make it something that makes sense. You know, when you're using it, steps that are just completely randomly picked and you have to go in order, you kind of have to wonder if you'll be able to make a page sometimes that makes sense. So what I did was I was thinking about pet parents who like to make their own recipes because they think that the purchased treats or dog foods or things like that, and also with babies. I mean, people do this with babies as well. They think that it's better if you make it yourself. So I looked up recipes for treats for cats, because I knew I was going to be making a cat, because that's one of the steps. So I came up with this recipe that sounded like something I would like to eat, actually. It's sunflower seed kitty treats. And so I used that recipe as part of my page, which also gives me the idea of sun or sunflower, flowers, cats. I'm like, it's starting to form. As soon as I thought about that and I found that recipe, that's when my idea for the page started to form. So the next step is just completely random, as it says. Add random letters. So adding random letters. This is a very, very old stencil. I don't know. This probably might be the first stencil I ever had. It's super old, and it's also thick. It's like hard and thick, and so instead of using a sponge like I normally would for a stencil, I used this heavy body acrylic paint. Light blue violet is the color. It's kind of a really pretty color. And I used a stencil brush with it. And that's a stiff bristle brush, and then you pounce up and down instead of rubbing you pounce, 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 pounce to get the color through. So that worked a lot better with this heavyweight stencil, heavyweight plastic. Next step was to add a charm or metal piece, and I found this spoon charm in my random box of junk. Don't know where it came from, but I thought, okay, recipes, cooking, spoon, that makes sense. Okay, I don't have a lot of charms, so I couldn't come up with anything better than that. So before I put it on, I decided I better kind of fill in the background because it was looking really white. And so I went ahead and used some diluted Decoart's light blue-green, light green, blue, something like that. And then the rest of that blue-violet, the light blue-violet color, diluted with a lot of water. And I just did a wash over the whole background, filling in all that white. And then I dabbed some of it off in places with a baby wipe. And then I'm attaching my charm using this beacon glue. It's like a quick dry, heavy duty glue that can glue metal and plastic and things like that. So I'm using that to attach the charm to my page. It doesn't have a hole in it or anything like that, so I couldn't dangle it. Couldn't do that. So next step, step 7, was to tint any medium and apply through a stencil. So right now I'm looking through a stencil. This is my 3-ring binder with plastic pocket sheets that I put all the stencils in, trying to keep them organized. This is my new way of doing it. Hopefully I'll continue to do it that way. I did used to have them hanging on the wall, which I liked because I could see them, but then to get the one I wanted, I had to take all the ones that were on top of it off, and so that got annoying. So the medium I decided to tint is heavy gesso. Heavy gesso is probably your first basic medium that you ever use, and it also dries pretty quickly, and I needed to get this done. I've got someone living in my studio right now, so I needed to get in and out. So I decided to tint it a couple different colors. Decided to use India ink just because it's a high intensity color, and I started out with the green, and then I'm using this spiral stencil. And the reason I picked that stencil, I was trying to pick a stencil, is because this page is a homage to a particular artist style. We can talk a lot about style, and we'll talk about that in a second when I start talking about the artist. But the artist that I'm kind of imitating, or not exactly copying, but am inspired by, is someone that our guest artist, Andreia Kidman, had given me her name, and I looked her up, and I thought she was very interesting. So she uses spirally shapes like this, swirly spirally shapes sometimes, in the sky of her paintings. I think they're probably oil paintings. I'm not sure. But so that's the reason that I picked the swirls ultimately. And I just tinted some blue, tinted some green, and put that on in the background. Gives it a little bit of texture, but not a huge amount of texture, because it's flatter than like a modeling paste or something like that. So back to the artist. The artist's name is Regina. An American way to say it would be Wachmeister. I think it's probably Wachmeister. She's an Austrian artist. And Andrea and I were talking about a drawing that Andrea had made for the ATC challenge this month. And I said that her cat looked like a Laurel Birch cat. And she had looked up Laurel Birch because she hadn't heard of that artist before. And I'll put a link to Laurel Birch and a link to Regina Wachmeister in the description box below so that you can look at their art. But they both have very, very iconic, very specific styles of drawing cats. And style is something that I am still struggling with. I don't think that you can look at my art and say that's Shel's art. Like, you can't recognize it. Whereas some of the people that I follow on Instagram or Facebook, oh, I can't even think of any right now, but excuse me, when I see their art, bam, I know that's theirs. I know who made that. Addie Alamanza, I think, is one of them. She makes kind of doll-like whimsical girls. Every time I see her thing, I know that's hers. And there's another one. Wow, I wished I could remember her name. But anyway, what I'm saying is style is something that develops, I think, as you practice. But the drawback for me when I'm thinking, oh, well, I need a style, I need to be recognizable, I get bored. I don't want to make the same thing over and over and over. I want to try different things. So I like to sometimes learn from imitating other people's style. And I think that that is an absolutely valid way of learning art and practicing art. You know, go look at the masters and try to imitate their style. See if you can make something that looks like what they made or is recognizable as their style. And I think that that helps you learn and grow and develop. As long as you don't take credit for that art being your art. Be sure that when you do that, that you make it clear, especially if you do like a video or posting it somewhere or something, or you're taking a class and you're posting your art in the page, you know, oh, I made this piece. Be sure that you give that person credit, whether it's the instructor, whether it's the old master, whether it's whoever you are imitating. Please give them credit because it's their style, not yours. Don't take it and say that it's yours. So that's just my little rant over. Again, I'll put the link below so that you can check out. But this cat that I made, and by the way, the next step was to use your favorite color, and so I used dioxazine purple, which purple is my favorite color. Ultimately, I like a lot of colors, but purple, I would say, when it comes down to the very end of time, is my favorite. So I started out with purple, and then I'm adding a little bit of yellow oxide and some titanium white, and eventually some quinacridone magenta. These are all Decoart Media line fluid acrylics. And I'm painting in my cat, just painting in with acrylic paint in the style of Regina Wachmeister. Wachmeister. I don't know how you say it in Austrian, but then I'm just continuing to add more of this purple around the page. You know, when you add something to a page, that's a color to a page, you should include it around the page in other elements. There wasn't any intense purple, you know, on anything else, so I went around the edges of the hearts and things like that. Where the tail is curving around the recipe, I tried to clean it out in the middle of it so that you could still see what it says in case you wanted to make, you know, in case I wanted someday to make these treats. But that's okay. You can't really read it, but that's okay. You can look it up on the internet if you want to. So then last step, number 10, was to splatter ink or paint. Very fortuitous that ended up being the last stick drawn in this challenge, because that's almost always the last thing I do on a page. You know, a finishing touch of adding some little splatters on a mixed media in particular is a really popular thing to do, and I like to do it. I think that they're fun. So I did that, and then I needed to finish my page. Remember I was talking earlier about how the sunflower seed treats made me think about suns. And the cat, you know, the cats, I needed to have a cat, I needed to have a sunflower or a sun. And of course I live in Arizona, as you guys know, and sun images are huge here. And it just so happens that Regina Wachmeister also likes to put sun images in her art. So I thought that adding a sun at the top in that barren area up at the top that I needed to put something in was a good idea. So I drew in a sun using the same style of a face. I don't know, it's kind of an abstract, I'm not sure what you would really call that face, but same face. And then I used the same color again, the yellow oxide, and then I also brought back in some of that iridescent copper that I'd already used on the page to finish coloring the sun. So that brings everything together, kind of putting the colors again in other places on the page to bring unity to the look of the page. I don't know what's wrong with my throat. That's where I add in a little bit of the Quin Magenta to make a little cheek color. And then my finishing touches are all going to be with Posca pens. I recommend this medium set if you're going to use the Posca pens to outline or draw. I have, you can see I have two different sets there, and one of them's got fine tips, and the other one's got medium tips. And I usually recommend the fine tips because I use the black and the white all the time on almost every project that I do. So I really love them, but I also like these mediums, and it comes in 15 different colors. Links to the products that I use below, to Amazon affiliate program. If you click on those links and buy something, I get a few cents off of your purchase. So that's why I put all those links below. And I appreciate if you use them. And even if you click on my link and you end up buying something else that's not my link, not my thing that I recommended, I still get a little bit, as long as it's the same session. So if you want to buy something really big, use my link and then go buy your really big thing and I'll be happy. Just trying to keep myself in paint. So then I finished up my little hearts that I put on the page by making them into flowers. I didn't end up drawing a sunflower. I ended up just drawing a sun, but I did need these other flowers, and the hearts just looked like they were like randomly in the middle of the page without being connected to anything. So I'm using the Posca pens in a couple different greens to draw in grass, leaves, stems, and then I decided that they're looking too streaky, so I just push the Posca pen down on my scratch paper until it makes a little puddle, and then I use a small round brush and paint in the fatter parts of what I was drawing. So you can definitely use them as a paint as well. Just a slightly damp brush, dip it in the puddle, and you're in good shape. And it takes away the streakiness of using the pen tips to color in. Just a little tip for you there. A tip about tips. Haha. So at that point right there, my phone, which I use to videotape, overheated and shut off, and I didn't know it. So you missed a little bit of me outlining the sun, but it's pretty repetitive anyway. You already saw me outline the cat. So I used the dark blue pen instead of the black for around the rays and the the circle part of the sun, and then I added in a little bit of that light blue too, just for highlights. Added in some white. Right here I'm fixing where the tape pulled off my paper. So if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, to leave a comment so I know you were here. Subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on your notifications, and of course you can always share this on your Facebook or Pinterest. That's always helpful to me. And I think that's it for me, so thanks for watching. Bye-bye.